Welcome to episode 8 of this Conversation Matters podcast. I'm Dr. Susan Protasio, your host, and today our conversation is about embracing Paris life. There's so much noise in the world today that embracing Paris life really matters. So what is Paris life all about? It is a communion of parishioners. It is a shared experience that involves spiritual and social activities. So today, we have a guest who is the director of the Paris Life at the Holy Name of Jesus Catholic Community in Redlands, California. He was the former director of Marriage and Family Life Ministry at the Diocese of San Bernardino, California. So let's welcome our guest, Dr. Mario Martinez. Welcome.
Dr. Susan, it's a pleasure to be here today and be able to have this conversation about parish life, about the importance of community, about the wonderful things that occur in everybody's parish. So it's a wonderful conversation. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. And I truly appreciate your presence here. I thank you so much for agreeing. So one of my podcast viewers sent me a message and asked me if I could discuss parish life or faith formation in one of my episodes. And she said, I feel people these days are no longer interested in knowing further their faith. And it is the role of the church to make sure Catholics learn their faith to the very core and be the light and salt of their community. So that's what she sent me. So thank you, Alma Meneses, for sending me that message. So going back to the parish life, at our Holy Name of Jesus Parish, we have a very dynamic parish life, and there's a lot of opportunities to grow in faith. So could you share with us what is parish life about?
Yes, parish life, it means precisely what the word says, the life of the parish. It means about how are we coming together as families, as people around the community at a certain parish to live out our faith in community, to live out our faith in the sacraments, to live our faith in the catechetical processes that we could engage, to learn more about our faith. Parish life is the opportunity that we have to come, again, together, to come and be able to grow and learn, and not only what we practice at home, but what we practice together in this calling that we have to live in community. Share our values, share our understandings. And also to, when we're going through difficulties, that's when we do, and a lot of us have lived what is parish life, because we know we could always depend on the church,
to
depend on the
us.
Community, depend on those that are serving in the parishes, to be able to support us and help us through whatever struggles or situations we've been going. So parish life is the opportunity that we have to live as Christians, as Catholics, in an environment that helps us grow in our spirituality, but in our person too. And I would state in becoming the best versions of ourselves, which we're all called to do that.
I agree with that. And then as I was looking, the parish life includes there's certain aspects of it, like it includes worship and sacraments, which is the regular masses that we attend, the confessions, the baptisms. It also includes community building, faith formation, like you said, which is the religious education programs like Bible studies. It includes also service and outreach, as well as traditions and celebrations. So all of these components of parish life are very important, but I would like to focus on faith formation. The reason is some people would say, is going to Sunday Mass not enough to deepen my faith? So from your perspective, what is faith formation?
Yes, even tagging to what you just mentioned right now, is going to Mass sufficient?
Yes.
It should be sufficient, but at times we don't understand what we're doing during the liturgy. Why do we stand? Why do we kneel? Why do we move around? Why do we get in a line? So all of these components, all of the processes or the moments, the segments of the liturgy of the Mass, sometimes we don't understand.
Yes.
And when we don't understand it, then that's when we come and say, well, we need formation. We need formation in our faith. We need to grow. What is faith means in my life? How can I become better in understanding?
Right.
So, if I don't understand what the liturgies, how to live the Mass, it's not just about the homily, but it's important. It's not
Yes.
just about walking in the church and kneeling, but it's also important. All of them, all of
Yes.
these components are important.
Yeah.
So faith formation gives us the opportunity to get formed, to learn, to understand
Yes.
how is it that I should live the liturgy? How in my life I could get closer to Christ? Because everything we do, all the components that you just mentioned, all of them, even serving the poor,
Yes.
is
Yes.
to lead us
To
to an
lead us.
encounter
Yeah.
to Christ.
Yeah.
And the opportunity we have of this encounter, it's through the liturgy,
Right.
living the Mass.
Right.
But if we don't know how, for whatever reason,
Yeah.
maybe I was not informed,
Yes.
it became a tradition for me. I've been doing it so much that I'm just accustomed to it,
Yeah.
that now as an adult, there's not a lot of meaning. Faith formation processes
Yeah.
come in handy.
Right. It is a process of understanding your beliefs and understanding, like you said, the liturgy, and it can occur through or achieved through like prayers, reflection, study, or community engagement. And then as I was reading and checking, it says that faith formation happen in different stages. It begins in childhood with foundational teaching, and then it continued through adolescence to adulthood with deeper exploration, and then it evolves in life because our life experiences kind of, somehow shape the belief that we have. So it's a continuous process.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a continuous process. So now, since it's a continuous process, what are the different ways to attain that, to achieve faith formation?
Yeah. So if we go back to what you just mentioned right now, that we take faith formation in different stages of our lives. As a child, as a school-age
Yeah.
child, as a young adult, or even before that, as a youth. And therefore, it's important and it should be taken, and there's different people or individuals that become very concrete leaders in that area or
Right.
that stage of faith formation. For instance, when they're infants, the parents.
Yeah.
We are the
Yeah.
first catechist. We
Yes.
are the first to help our children enter into a process of finding Jesus, finding God.
Yeah.
And then so on in the different stages.
Yes.
So the different things that we use is, like as you were mentioning, is as simple as prayer and how to develop a life of prayer,
Right.
a life of devotions, Bible studies.
Yeah, Bible studies,
learning to
prayer
read
group.
the Bible. What does it mean? Many books within a book. What does it
Yeah.
mean when we're saying chapter 1, verse 3
Yes,
of a certain
yes.
reading? How come during the liturgies of one year we read these?
Yes, like the
these,
cycle. You
Yes,
have the
what do the
cycle.
cycles mean? The
Yeah.
colors of, all these different components
Right.
of our life, and learning to understand and discern God and be able to relate
Yes.
to God.
Yeah.
It takes us. So the forms, once again, some forms could be very structural, where you attend a class.
A class, yeah.
For instance, when our children are going to catechesis to receive the sacrament of reconciliation, and then they get ready for the sacrament of First Communion, or other parts where adults go with their, as parents, newly parents,
Yes.
to go baptize their children, and you
Right.
receive formation, you receive catechesis
Right.
during that time. So there's times that we receive them before the sacraments. It is very recommended to have formations, to have catechesis before we receive the sacraments, to be able to understand the presence of
Yeah.
God in our lives during this moment.
Yeah.
The thing is that we're also called not to have this faith formation before the sacraments, but also after the sacrament. So faith formation is not for us to just have before the Mass to understand our faith,
Yeah.
but even after we
yeah.
leave Mass and we're sent to the
Right.
world to
Right.
change the world around us.
And then I think faith formation is transformative So what are the positive impacts of faith formation?
What was that? Could you?
What are the positive impact of the faith formation? Because I think it's transformative. You know, it probably helps us like emotionally or mental well-being because we're being transformed.
Yes.
You
So
know?
the impacts of faith formation is
Yes.
to help us grow,
Right.
to help us,
Yeah.
in fact, even find purpose, to find direction,
Direction.
to find what is calling. It's teaching us. In faith formation, we're also learning discernment, which is very important for all of us. And not just discernment of a vocation, which is very important for all of us to discern at a young age, what is it, what am I calling as a way of life? Right? Am I
Right.
called to marriage, priesthood, but also as a vocation of what kind of work am I called
Right.
to do?
Right. Right.
Very important as well. What am I doing? You know, so faith formation has that impact in our lives.
Right.
It has that impact to help us understand again as we're understanding who we are,
Right.
to be this best version of ourselves,
Yeah.
and at the same time to be able to respond the best way
Right. Right.
to our calling.
There are like several possible means to achieve faith formation, but let us not forget that the important role of the family in the faith formation. So, being the former director of the family life, so can you share with us about the role of family in
Yes.
faith formation?
So the role of family life in faith formation is vital.
Yes.
It's important. The documents of the church, the recent documents of the church, have been stating over and over the need for us parents to learn the ways of the church, to understand how we live our church, so that we could model to our children,
Okay.
so that we could train our children to understand and be able to respond. Now, just because I'm religious and I'm Catholic doesn't guarantee that my children are going to be religious or Catholics.
Right.
But if I model a way of life that is good for us, if I model a
yeah.
way of life where I'm teaching them virtues, I'm teaching them how to become the best version of ourselves, where Pope Francis would mention often, you know, there might be plates flying, but at the end, what we need to practice is forgiveness, recognition that I have failed perhaps, even as a parent, and be able to teach them that this is possible and it's a process.
Yeah.
So that's even part of faith formation as well.
Yeah.
And the thing is that we learned this in our homes.
Right.
It is the first school. It's well documented.
That's the
Where-
first catechism.
Yes, it's where we first learn and when we experience love.
Yeah.
When we with our parents, when we could experience what is unconditional love, especially the mothers, and how the impact that does. And we've heard from psychological studies when
Yes.
when children feel abandoned, when they feel that something was missing, their future development is not necessarily the best.
Right. Right.
However, it's important that, yes, with a good faith formation in home as parents, catechists, and family life, the outcome might be better.
Yes, because it helps our mental well-being, our spiritual growth, our personal growth, you know. Since it is a process, probably some people doesn't notice it, but other people would say, hey, you know, you're doing good or you're participating well.
Yes.
Yeah, so,
And,
you
and
know.
I'm not saying we're perfect.
Right.
We have, you know, I know faith formation. My kids in my household is perfect, in no way.
Yeah, yeah.
Now,
That's true.
my faith formation has made me aware of where I need to grow and
Right.
become a better person, a better parent.
Yes.
But it is in the context of this family life.
Right. And the good thing also with faith formation is it is intertwined to service to others. The reason is during the process of faith formation, because we are growing personally, mentally, and spiritually, it kind of leads us to a desire to act with compassion. And then when you do that, your tendency is to serve others. So in our parish, how do we do that? How do we connect faith formation and translate it to service to others?
Yeah, so I'm blessed to be in a parish where it's very diverse and at
Yeah.
the same time very active.
I know.
And there's still many things to improve, but there's things that are working very well, like what you're mentioning. We have faith formation programs that also helps us to grow and then insert ourselves into the community, the other programs, the other ministries to help us be able to reach out. Reach out from the homeless, the bound, to the youth to the youth in our community, to the elderly, to the young.
So, and those are the services to
and
others,
services to others
that we could extend out of that goodness that comes out from the faith formation.
But it comes from, being intentional too. Being intentional that, let's study this, let's look at this. Some parishes would perhaps, do a book club kind of thing where they study together and there's a theme. In our parish, there's a specific theme of the year.
Right.
In our parish, as we continue developing the different programs, the different activities, we draw back to that theme that's teaching us, that's catechizing us, that it's forming us throughout the year. For example, for this past year, we've been focusing on send me.
Right. I like that, send me. So what does send me means?
It means specifically that. It means that when God calls us with courage, we get up and we say, I'm here. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing, but send me.
Right.
We're hoping and to be able to develop this willingness to say, I am here.
Right.
I am here, and I'm just here. And then the next phrase is, send me.
Send me. Yeah, I check on it because I like that. And then send me, it means like respond to God's calling, and it's one of us are called to serve. And so send me in relation to faith formation, it often refers to willingness to serve, willingness to evangelize, and that is to encourage individual to step forward in service, or it could be ministry, or it could be a community work. And then I read that in many traditions, send me reflects a call to action, which means responding to God's invitation to serve others. And then it is also referring to mission and evangelism, and that is sharing faith and helping those in need. And it also reflects personal commitment and deepening of one's faith through active participation, which is very important. Like you said, when you attend the Sunday Mass, yes, you attended, but you also have to participate, not just like attend and then go home, right?
That's right.
And then we have also, it reflects also community engagement, that is supporting and uplifting others in faith-based initiatives. So send me, it's a strong calling, I think, to respond. And I was reading also, in Christianity, it says, send me often signifies a willingness to serve God through mission work, ministry, or community service. And many churches emphasize responding to God's call or by helping others. So send me, probably when we say it in our parish, others would just brush it off, but I think it has a deeper meaning. It's calling us to participate. So if there are people listening to us right now, how are they going to process that thought or that feeling of responding to being called? Like, because sometimes people are on the side. Some are very active in their parish life. Some are just on the side and watching, and let's see, what's going to happen. So how do you think they should process that thought?
Yeah, I think to begin with, there's probably many individuals, other people out there that have heard God's calling and they have responded in a very generous, send me, here I am, send me. And they have done it. They're going out there, they're doing the work. And there's others that have heard it, but haven't learned how to respond.
Right.
And in fact, because of perhaps previous experiences, life experiences, their own understanding of who they are has limit in the way I could respond.
Right.
for us, focusing this year in Send Me has meant helping our parishioners, helping our community, maybe from even a very, individual or a person,
Yeah.
from the person perspective. Well, what am I capable to do?
Right. Right.
And learning and trusting God God has equipped us. God has given us, gifts, talents
Yeah.
that are, yes, mine, He gave them to me, but that I'm able to, with that, be able to provide for others,
Right.
be able to be at service for
Right.
others. So the way we're processing Send Me for this year has focused on, well, what has God calling you to do?
Yeah.
And not only that, but how have you respond?
Because all of us are given a gift. We have a gift, everyone. I believe on that. You just have to probably kind of tune in or be sensitive. Okay, this is my gift. How can I use it? Like, it was said that we have to be good stewards of all the gifts that we receive. So I think that Send Me is a call that we need to respond. And some people probably may take a little longer or probably may hesitate. But like you said, you have to process it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, Send Me for us has been engaging, has
Yeah.
been motivating, has been what's next.
Yeah.
What am I called to do for the good of the other,
Right.
for the good of my family?
Right.
Because it's not just about the other.
Yeah.
No, going back to family life,
Right.
and family life sometimes is the toughest to be able to be likable, or sometimes like everybody in our, there's struggles,
Yeah,
there's differences.
That's the reality.
We know each other there.
Yeah, that's reality.
And even there, it's Send Me to be able to be that that person in my family to help us get closer to God, perhaps.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's really interesting how, again, it's our calling. We all have this calling. We all have these talents. And being willing and having the courage to answer to that
Yeah.
with a firm Send Me
Yeah.
has been, encouraging and inviting again.
Yeah.
Well, what am I called to do?
Yeah.
And how am I going to do that?
Right. Right. Yeah. It is interesting for me because if I'm gonna do like a reflection on myself, sometimes I would feel like, okay, I went to mass, I did this, I did the prayers, and then you went home, and then after that, what, right? So what do you do? So I think this Send Me is something to ponder, something to think about.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you would like to share to our audience regarding our topic of embracing parish life and faith formation?
Oh, certainly. There's so much to talk about when we talk about family life,
Right.
Parish life. And I'd say family life because, for me, parish life is an extension of our family life.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to strive to have healthy families
Right.
so that we could have a healthy community.
Mm-hmm.
So I could even go down to having healthy marriages,
Right.
to have a healthy family and therefore have a healthy community,
Correct.
to have a healthy parish life as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because Pope Francis constantly said the parish is the family of families.
Mm-hmm.
It's significant. So parish life it's also a reflection of what's going on in the community.
Right. Right.
It's a reflection of the needs, but also the abundance of gifts and talents. People's love,
Right.
people being able to come together in celebration, but also in moments of
Right.
need.
Because if the parish life is very dynamic, then the parishioners or the people in the community, they become engaging. And then since that is done like in a group, so now you are more inspired to do like outreach services or like doing ministry work because it is a group, and then it creates that, I think, the inspiration or the creativeness, to be a part of the community. So
Yes,
yeah,
indeed.
yeah,
So it's all connected.
yeah, it is, it is.
It's really so much. Again, parish life is dynamic,
Yeah.
Families are dynamic.
Yeah.
Families are healthy.
Right.
Parish life is dual. Families might be struggling.
Yeah.
We also need to take care of that,
Yeah.
or discern what else is going on.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
that is a reality, especially now these days. You know, there's so much stress going on that it's family, like you said, it's not one size fits all, you know.
Exactly.
It depends on the situation of its family or like depending on what kind of parish life there is in the parish, right?
And again, the community, because there's some communities that the demographics of the parish community is different, so they have different needs. So their
Right.
parish life is going to look different
Right.
than another family,
Right.
another parish. An example is when we have a parish community where there's a lot of young families, then you're most likely going to have ministry for children.
Right.
Right? And it's going to be looking different. Now, if you have a community where most of the parishioners are perhaps retired, it's an older community,
Right.
of course, the needs are going to be different.
Different.
You know,
So
they-
their parish life, the way they're engaged would be different from a younger
So-
people comprising the parish life.
Exactly. So we really can compare and contrast parish
Right, right.
lives. It's a reflection of the community.
Yeah.
Now, if there's nothing going on, then it's
Yeah.
you know, what can I do?
What-
That's the next
yeah.
question.
Yes.
And the thing is, go talk to your pastor. If God is calling you, send me
Yes.
and propose.
Yes.
Come up
yes.
with a plan.
Yeah.
Because we could complain. There's nothing going on in my parish. And if that's where we're at, that's where you're at. There's nothing in my parish. Get a proposal. You know, I often say,
take the
complain
initiative. Yeah.
with recommendation.
Yeah.
Don't just complain.
Yeah, and take the initiative. So, in essence, I think I'm gonna just, for our audience, in essence, our discussion today about parish life, in essence, parish life is about faith, fellowship, and service. It is not just about going to Mass and not participating. It is about belonging to a spiritual family. And then faith formation, it is the process of deepening one's spiritual beliefs and understanding, often through study, prayer, reflection, or community engagement. And send me, that phrase represents a personal willingness to act on faith, stepping into service, mission, or leadership. It is the natural outcome of a well-formed faith. And like Dr. Mario has said, if there's nothing going on, take the initiative, take the leadership, and see where you know, can bring the parish life into, right? So before we end, I'm gonna like to kind of share my input that if at some point in your life you feel the nudge, like the feeling of the willingness to step forward, either through ministry or community engagement or service, do not be afraid. You know, just say, okay, Lord, send me. And you will be surprised how fulfilling and meaningful life would be. So thank you for watching. I hope Dr. Mario and I have shared some wisdoms here, some wisdom or some information that you could use to, you know, enhance your parish life. So thank you so much for watching. Do not forget to click the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next episode. So take care of yourselves and blessings.